All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. On this podcast, we talk about gender and sexuality and a little bit of cultural stuff and LGBTQ plus community. And today I wanted to talk about, a challenge of, positive mindset, positive thinking, having a, good start to the morning, getting your head in a good place in the morning, because that's kind of where it starts. But it's not limited just to the morning. Honestly, it can really be adjusted at any time of day. If I'm yawning, just please excuse me. I don't know why I'm so sleepy. Well, I know why, I think. Because I woke up too early. I woke up really early at like 5:15 a.m. And I did have a little caffeine today, but honestly it wasn't so much caffeine. And then I got in some yoga, just 30 minutes, but it was pretty good considering that my house is like 88 degrees right now because we're in a heat wave. That was about as pleasant of a heated yoga experience indoors. Had a little bit of C4, it's a pre-workout, about 13 milligrams ish worth of caffeine of that. But yeah, I just started yawning. So yeah, I can kind of walk you through my day, and you can kind of compare kind of how your days go and see if you experience any similar challenges, or if there's stuff that you realize about your day based on how I kind of explain my day, of kind of things that could potentially be adjusted if you chose to do so. Now I have to kind of preface everything with saying, positive thinking and kind of like getting in a good positive headspace isn't always easy to do, because sometimes, if you're like me, sometimes you don't really want to. So, last night, I was struggling last night, I was, my energy was pretty depleted, and, I came to a realization that, my energy being depleted was contributing to my mood getting kind of like really kind of negatively emotional, just kind of not in the headspace I wanted to be in, just kind of having a lot of like negative memories coming up, and just frustrations of life just kind of started just like coming to my mind. And then not frustrations of life, like living life itself, but just recent stressors that were just kind of coming onto my mind. And I was just like, what is up? Like, today was good, and I noticed that like all day, I was feeling just like I wanted to be by myself. Like after I was done working, I was like, no gym, no beach, no outdoor, no social interaction. I just want to be alone. Don't really want to talk to my family. Don't really want to like interact with friends or anything. Just want to be alone in my own head and, do my own thing. But yesterday morning, I didn't really wake up like that. I woke up in a pretty decent mood, had slept well. And so it was surprising to me that by night, things were starting to go a little bit like different. And then I kind of realized, I was like, my energy is just depleted, and it's late. Like, it wasn't that late, but it was like around 9 p.m. when this started happening. So I was like, okay, like what's really going on? I just am wiped out. And it's, leading me to be kind of stressed. And then, I just had some things coming up based on some kind of unresolved stuff that I'm learning how to work on. Was kind of coming up throughout the day, making me kind of want to be by myself. And I was kind of reading a lot about it, kind of like why might I be experiencing that? Because it's kind of a pattern that I've noticed, like keeping to myself so that I'm just kind of not being too irritated towards people and stuff. And I came to kind of some information that kind of shed some light on a lot of that, but I was like, this is really heavy for night, I'm just trying to chill and go to bed. So I was like, let me just freaking go to sleep because it's late. So, well, it wasn't late again. It was like, this is between like 9 and maybe 10:30 p.m. So I go to sleep, I had a dream. Can't remember exactly what it was. I remember one part of it that was really weird. And then I woke up, and it was like 5:15 a.m. And I was like, okay, I don't even feel like I want to really get up yet. I'm a little groggy, but I know I'm not going to go back to sleep. Like, I know my patterns by now. I wake up, I'm up, So I'm like, great. I don't work till 8 a.m. So I'm going to be feeling just kind of like in my negative headspace all morning long, and, I don't want to feel this way. So I was kind of maybe 45 minutes or so into just kind of feeling like a little like, okay, I wish I could just at least go to sleep, and was feeling pretty negative, just kind of like, just like, here comes another day. I wake up early, and then it's going to be just like, not really wanting to work, not really motivated about working. And then, not really gonna be able to go to sleep. And then, like, in the morning before work, like, I can't go back to sleep because I just usually don't. I usually can't fall back to sleep. And then I was, like, just frustrated with that whole experience for a little bit until, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be up. So, at first I was like, I'm just gonna close my eyes till 8. It's almost 8. And then I was like, that's not gonna get me anywhere. And I was like, well, I don't want to go on to YouTube because, a lot of stuff that comes up is like news and negative. And like, I was like, I don't want to like interact with any of that material right now. I just want to, at least start my morning off kind of chill. So somehow I got to Instagram, and there was a live on by Jaime Messina, JaimeMessina. So I'm like, I remember that I liked this person's content, but I couldn't remember what it was. And I click on it, and it's just like this live, Jamie sitting there kind of sipping on what looks like a protein shake. And just kind of, there's a live chat going on, maybe 20 something people in there, and they're just kind of talking about like, let's start off your day. Mention 3 things you're grateful for, or 3 things that, you have as things that you're going to accomplish for today. And I'm like, at first I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to, maybe get into a positive headspace, So this is the part that I was kind of trying to mention before. Sometimes I'll want to stay in, a negative mindset because I'm like, I don't want to avoid it or ignore it. I want to try to process it. But then I notice I'm not actually processing it. I'm just sitting in it and it's sucking, And so I think there is a time for like experiencing and feeling the emotions. But I am really trying to get better at, getting out of the part where I'm just like sitting there doing nothing positive and letting it just fester and brew. Nobody wants to wake up with like 2 hours and 45 minutes of that. That's not a way to start the day. That's not a way to end your day and then have to go to sleep, on that kind of energy. And, it makes rest time and relaxation just kind of like not very pleasant or enjoyable. And, you know, that really ruins the quality, right? So I was like, this kind of sucks. In all honesty, I'm like, this freaking sucks. But, I kind of caught it this morning. And I think where I went right was kind of noticing what I needed. I was like, I don't need all the, news feed of, the economy and the wars and, electricity and heat waves and where's there a fire and what, I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that information. And, I also don't need to spend my morning processing this, because, I need more time than just, my early morning groggy brain to try to process something that's so in depth when I need to be, preparing my mind to be, having an 8-hour shift and then getting in some exercise after work and eating healthy and just keeping it basic, at least for 8 hours of my shift, and then my time right after work, and just keeping all my back-to-back, things kind of balanced before I can actually, unwind, and then I can come in to try to process stuff. 5:15 a.m. is not process your history time, and neither is 9:30 p.m. That's something that's more earlier, but not so much that it's going to impact my day. So, this is kind of going through my head, really quick. It took a few minutes, to kind of get out of there and get out of, that was kind of, where my head was going. I kind of talked myself through quickly. It was, 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. It took me to kind of realize, what do I need for myself actually that's going to benefit me, that's going to help me. So after kind of being able to identify maybe what was going to help me, and kind of trying to get to a part of my mind that could think it through a little bit better, I was kind of also thinking about okay, do I really want to feel better or not? Because that is another kind of situation that arises for me, is sometimes, like I said, I want to process things. I want to, not just fully ignore myself, but, I also was feeling thinking that way was really not serving me. It really wasn't helping me, really wasn't serving me. And I was like, I really don't want to have a crappy morning. I would like to feel this morning, like I did yesterday morning, actually, because yesterday morning felt fine. And I was trying to think, okay, what's the difference? Because I slept fine. I did eat fine, too. And so, kind of those basic things, I ate what I wanted the night before, had some Peruvian food, mostly chicken, and kind of a chicken and rice dish, from a Peruvian spot that I love. I had, I've basically been eating this week kind of what I want. And so I was kind of happy about that. I was like, okay, I had some good food. I had, some good chats with some friends, and, reconnected with people and kind of made some plans with people. So, yeah, when I got to the Instagram of Jaime Messina, and they were talking about, the 3 positive things or things that we're grateful for, or 3 things that, we're like gonna do to accomplish during that day. I was like, I hadn't fully bought into it. I was still a little bit like, I don't know if I'm feeling this, but I'm like, I might as well sit on here because, she's kind of cute. And I'm like, at the least, I can just watch her and like read some stuff that they were posting. And I was thinking like, the topic is kind of cool. Like, at least it's not like stressing me out, and like reading what people were writing in the comments was like kind of cool to hear, other like queer people saying, different stuff about their lives. So I was like, all right, it's kind of cool to be like on like a live thing with like a bunch of random queer people. I was like, okay, like that's at least better than like finance YouTube or something like that at this morning time, so I was like, cool, like we're not watching the stock market crash or anything like that, we're waking up to something a little more wholesome, a little more positive. And I was like, all right, I'll just sit here and do nothing with it and not really fully buy in. And it took a couple minutes, and then I was like, I left a comment, and started kind of engaging a little bit. And, I really liked where the topics were going. And then, I did notice, by the time I was done listening to it, like my motivation had completely shifted. I was like, I want to record, for the podcast this morning, do something creative before work like I was doing some other days this week. Because it has been working well for me to kind of record in the mornings because the heat wave, and then I'm trying to like exercise more in the afternoon, not every single afternoon, but like at least a couple times in the week during my work week, and then trying to do like weekends, like 2 hours or so. And then Jaime Messina was also talking about being part of like that Beachbody, with like Sean T and like Insanity and those types of programs, like being part of like that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. Like, that they could be, like, into that kind of, because I used to do Insanity, like, at home. I didn't even hardly do the whole thing. I would just do, like, just the warm-up alone and then some other workout. Or, like, I just do my own versions of stuff. But used some of their workouts and, like, some of the techniques and stuff. And I definitely saw results, even when I wasn't, like, fully doing it. Like, just from having, like, a consistent program to follow, and something that didn't need, like, equipment or anything, I really liked it. So I was like, okay, like, it was something I was familiar with. And then, Jaime started talking about their story, about, like, how they got into doing what they're doing, and kind of, like, their history of, like, what they were doing, like, their history of, like, being involved with like substances, and like in the past, and like how they kind of made a big transformation, and being like 40 years old or something like that. And I was just like, wow, like she looks good for 40. And like usually you hear a lot of YouTubers who are like, or like people on Instagram who are like quite a lot younger. There's a lot of younger millennials and a lot of Gen Zers in the queer community, which is great, but you usually don't hear people who are single that are 40 that like are really good looking and motivational. Like, that's a combination that I haven't come across much. And so that are just like actively motivational as like their primary content. And so I thought that was pretty cool, because usually like the motivation is kind of tied in with like another form of entertainment, but it seems like Jaime Messina does like coaching, for like optimism and things like that I was like, okay. I remember that, Jamie had this podcast that I never really got to check out. And so then I got, like, during work when I was like writing and stuff, I took some breaks with that content. I listened to one episode, the most recent episode, and then I listened to like while I was doing yoga, I listened to like about half of one different episode, and I was like, I really like these interviews. I really like the direction they're taking. I like what the guests have to say. I like how positive it is, but it's not like that kind of like positive that feels like phony. It's like real, like genuine positive. Of like, you can just tell that it's not just like the words. Like, this person lives that as a lifestyle because they've noticed the transformation they were able to get, and they're trying to share that with others. And I was kind of like, okay, like, it kind of got my head back on track of like, I'm kind of like in a stage like that of my own, with the Rona, time period kind of changing and shifting like a lot about my lifestyle. And then from there, not only was my lifestyle kind of shifting and changing, but I was kind of being awakened in a lot of ways to a lot of stuff that I was like, yeah, what I really don't want in my life, what I really do want in my life. But I wasn't really able to kind of like fulfill any of it because, we were locked down and everything. And so, once I kind of got a little clear about what I do want and what I do value, I kind of started making those changes, like moving and, trying to prioritize myself and my health and different things like that. So, I know for myself it's been a process, but a worthwhile process. And, I definitely have been seeing the results I want to see. But, it is just kind of that, daily, I don't want to say that I'm gonna never have consistent days where I'm waking up and just feeling great, but I feel like it's been so long that I had of waking up and not feeling great that I kind of got into a rut of that. And then just the habits along with it and just the lifestyle I was having just along with it was just, everything was contributing to, making sense that I wasn't feeling my best. Like, I wasn't feeling my worst either, but it was just like, I'm kind of reaching places where I'm like, still happy being by myself, in my own mind, in my own head, in my own brain, like still being happy, not saying that I'm not socializing or interacting, because I still do that. I still value that. I still love making plans with like friends and like catching up with family and stuff. But, I was really kind of focused on, not trying to be too, how do you say, like not too, like stuck, like getting stuck as part of my routine. Like, I don't want to be consistently getting stuck in things, because that I don't think is very beneficial. So it was kind of cool to come across an LGBT content creator that I had come across before, but sometimes it's like I find something I like, and then I just kind of there's so many people out there that I don't really remember. And I think I came across Jaime Messina initially because of an interview that was with Jess J. Killam. that I follow, that I have been following for years. I think that was one of the first YouTubers I looked up. I came across when I looked up the term like tomboy or lesbian tomboy or something like that. Like, I don't even know if I really had the words for what I was like looking for, but I think that content was the first I came across. And so I saw that they did an interview together, and Jaime Messina was kind of saying the same thing in that interview with Jess about like kind of the doors that Jess had opened for people like us to be even seeing that someone like us has stuff to say that other people might want to hear, because up until pretty recently there really wasn't a lot of like representation. And so I like to talk about that representation on here, because sometimes it's just nice to be reflected, even if it's not your same race or ethnicity or your same like label, your same identity labels. At least sometimes there's a little more in common than maybe like the cis straight culture, all the heteronormative kind of things in society. It's good to like hear the different perspectives. It kind of rounds things out and feels a lot more relatable, at least for me, when I'm tuning into that kind of content. So yeah, it was kind of nice to have a situation that really impacted my morning kind of in real time, and I was kind of excited all day about it. Honestly, I was just kind of like, wow, like there was actually some action and thought that went into place that was able to kind of get me to how I actually wanted to feel. And just I was kind of excited to kind of dive into the process of it all, because I was like, I know that I kind of did something and then I kind of did something else in my mind, and like, what did I do? I mean, that's not the first time I did it, but it's probably one of the first times that early morning at like 5:15 a.m. I was like thinking on that level. And again, it's going back to my sleep improving too, because I'm waking up in a more like capable state where I could actually like do stuff in the morning. Like, I can actually wake up and record podcast episodes, or wake up and like do stuff, not just wake up and be like I'm still like my brain is foggy, and like I mentioned before, like I was having like severe brain fog for like a really long time, and that's kind of not the case lately. So it's been pretty nice to just have like a different change of pace with my energy. It's pretty exciting. I'm enjoying it. It's pretty different. I'm really trying to still adjust my relationship with caffeine and cannabis and different kind of things like that kind of like swing my energy one way or the other. Like, I'm still kind of using both of those. I don't know if I'll ever like completely shy away from both, but I do like that I've definitely decreased a lot of both. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I was literally having to take days off work just to be able to feel more functional, because I just wasn't hitting the marks I needed to be on every day. And I was like, this kind of can't go on too long in this way. So if I look back to the Monday before Labor Day weekend, that was a Monday that I had off, and I wasn't fully functioning, and I had taken some days off right before that too. I don't remember what days exactly, but I had taken some days off before that too. And so I had taken a lot of days off just to feel like I was recovering. and then, was able to kind of slowly adjust the caffeine situation and the edibles situation with the, a THC edibles, going to like mostly CBD, like a very, very, very mild amount of THC, about like a quarter milligram, like about 0.25 milligrams, which, for me, that's like almost nothing. Like, I can still feel it, but it's like it definitely wears off. So I'm thinking, also, the THC for the next morning, it was definitely probably still impacting my, my haziness and my sharpness in the morning. And a lot of other things. I feel like it was impacting me more in the mornings when I woke up than it was impacting me in the evenings. And so that was something that was interesting. Like, it helped me sleep, it helped me rest. But I think it didn't really help me sleep through the night, because I was still waking up around like 3 a.m. And then I was still waking up with like feeling like really weird, and my thoughts being really kind of strange. So I was kind of glad that it was kind of easy to kind of get out from that. And so that's kind of the process I took. I mean, it's been a few weeks, but to see improvements quickly enough. I mean, I probably mentioned before, I've always had sleep problems all my life. So when I'm getting like quite a few days per week of like consistently good rest, that is already like a win in itself, because my life hasn't really gone like that almost ever. Like, I've always had trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, feeling rested, waking up early, but I am consistently waking up early, and able to be alert even before 6 a.m. And there's something about early morning times, like, it in a way it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, because like I'm waking up almost excessively early because I don't work till 8 a.m. But it's like, it just kind of does make me feel better about myself to be up early, and just start the day before the sun, and just kind of get up and get going, and still have energy through work, and be focused during work. And it makes me a little more motivated when I just feel better. I think that's definitely where a lot of my burnout was coming from, is because I just wasn't like feeling how I needed to feel just to want to do an 8-hour shift. Like, nobody wants to have a brain full of like all kinds of stuff going on, and unresolved like feelings and thoughts and all kinds of stuff, and then trying to work with people on their intense issues while I was just kind of like dealing with my own issues, honestly. So and I think I mentioned that I think it was most of July and half of August, I was talking to a therapist. Like I mentioned, I thought that we were going to do more like career-related stuff, but we kind of didn't. And I felt at the time like it wasn't that helpful. But now I am kind of realizing, that it did benefit me to just kind of be able to kind of talk through some of the stuff that was coming up during just like moving back into places where it was already difficult for me to live in this environment once in my life, and then I left, and then to come back to it, even if I am, employed and independent, and, have a car and can drive, and, have my own money and can leave and move whenever. I'm just willingly staying here because it's the cheapest option I have right now, and I'd rather just save the money. So, just being able to kind of think like that and do stuff like that, is like, at least, I'm kind of here willingly. It's not as forced as it maybe seemed like it was. But yeah, I mean, I am still going to need to adjust my job situation. But that doesn't have to happen immediately. I'll see. We got an upcoming review. We'll see how that goes. We're just going to have to see how things are going. And then otherwise, I'm going to... yeah. We're going to see how things are going. But... yeah, and I am saving, and I am about to take a little trip Sunday through Thursday. I'm gonna get to work while seeing friends, and then take some time off at the end of that for my mom's birthday. So I got a lot to look forward to next week too, and just trying to keep a consistent pace going with a record of good things. It's been a while. I've kind of missed it. I know a few weeks ago I mentioned how I was getting back into music and different types of artistic creative things, and that definitely helped too. And yeah, I'm just posting what I find useful for myself in case people are looking for their own way to kind of brainstorm kind of what's going on for them. I hope that this kind of method of talking about it is helpful for someone who might not really know what kind of direction to maybe take, or maybe you're struggling with it too. Just kind of tracking your progress and kind of trying to tweak the things. Honestly, the hardest part is like trying to slow down. That's one hard part. And then slow down, think things through, and kind of recognize kind of what you need for yourself, and kind of recognize not only what you need, but like how to kind of just kind of get to a place where you're kind of becoming aware of what's happening, just to kind of slow down enough and kind of notice what it is that's happening. Like kind of how I said before, like how I was able to kind of be like, well, look, you slept fine, that box is checked off. You ate well, that box is checked off. You should be pretty hydrated still, that box is checked off. There's no real reason to not feel good. Like there's not like an actual thing going on, so there's got to be just something in my mind. And so do I want to adjust it, and if so, how? Do I want to feel this way? And like, do I genuinely want to spend the next hour feeling like this, or can I wait to deal with whatever is going on in my mind, wait to deal with this later, and then feel better now, and then deal with whatever it is that I've got going on, deal with that later on. That was kind of the decision I came to, was like, yeah, deal with it later on. Like, there's no need to deal with it right first thing in the morning. It can wait, it can still go somewhere. And I did kind of deal with it later on. Like I said, I, listened to some podcast episodes that were actually pretty on point to what I've been experiencing the night before. So not only the night before did I have a video that kind of helped me along, why I was feeling the way I was feeling that night, and consistently some other times that the same situation had come up. But then during today, I was able to find something that was kind of along the same lines, just stumbled into it from the same content by Jaime Messina that, I was able to kind of just stumble into it. So I didn't have to like go out of my way looking too hard or searching too hard. It kind of just all fell into my lap just by like not spending too much time tuning into just all kinds of other stuff and getting distracted by that, and then not like actively doing something to feel better. I feel like this time I was able to like actively do things that made me feel a lot better. So that's kind of my report for now, and I hope it's helpful to hear. And I'm excited about it. I mean, I know, I record on here a lot, and I say that I don't want to be, just recording a bunch of, like, negative content, or just, like, me moaning and groaning about all kinds of negative stuff. But, I know a lot of times it does become a lot of like ranting and just like kind of like venting about stuff, and I hope that doesn't get to people. But I mean, you guys can kind of track kind of how I'm doing. I mean, I'm not always posting these in real time, but they're a little staggered, just because it's easier to post in advance. But because I want to get the content out there, that I'd rather just post in advance and not post the day of. But it's still gonna be like in sequence for the most part. And yeah, like it's a challenge. It's I'm kind of in the middle of a lifestyle challenge for me lately, so I'm keeping it up and hoping that overall it continues to go well, and it would be nice not to have to hit any road bumps, but we'll actually have to see about that. But it would be nice to be able to just have a consistently stable couple months or weeks, to kind of get things kind of built up, so that there's a lot of like foundation behind a lot of this. Like, I'm still kind of trying to create routines that work, and like a system that works for myself, so it kind of gets a little more ingrained, so that I'm not just like jumping back into like old habits of stuff. So I think that's about it for now, and thanks for listening.